This video would help us to understand what it is that you need to include in your defect report. So what is a defect report? When you're running your test and you find an issue, those information or that describes the issue you found that you sent to developers to investigate, that piece of information is known as a defect report. Okay, and there are specific formats that they need to be in so that they could be easily turned around and reproduced and resolved or fixed by a developer. So oftentimes when certain informations are missing from a defect report, it wastes a bit of time in the test process, and that's because the developer most likely will send the report back to the tester because they're unable to, one, reproduce the defect, two, understand what the issue is as it needs more clarity, and obviously all of these waste time in the test process, and in some cases it could also affect the um, testers credibility with the developer. Okay, so you need to ensure that specific information are covered, especially for new testers, on your defect report. So this is a short example of a defect report that is missing certain information. So you can see this is an issue that was found. There's a date on it, which is the 22nd of June, and the defect reference, this is X012, then the defect description that basically states that when testing the login form for the system froze, the screen froze, and I wasn't able to complete the login process. Okay, so normally this is a manual way of raising the defect. Normally organizations will have their own tools like a defect management tool like Jira or Quality Center or TestRail, or some even might use Microsoft spreadsheets or Microsoft Access to manage their defects. But usually these are some of the details that you would enter, you'd expect the defect. Okay, but as you can see, this is incomplete as it's missing some specific information. If you were to investigate this issue, you could easily see that it's missing some information on there, and obviously it might not work or give you the clarity that is required to fix such a defect. Okay, so what we need to do is I'll now show us a updated version of that defect description, which obviously has more information that is required to enable a quick turnaround and a reproduction of such a defect. Okay, so the same defect description has been updated in this instance. So as you can see, the description basically states when testing the login form for the system XYZ, so that's the type of the system preference or system ID or system name, which is important. The screen froze and eventually times out with error. Session connection has timed out after about 20 minutes. So you can see we have the error there, and we have a time indication of how long it took before it occurred or when it occurred. And if you read on, and I was unable to complete the login process. Below are the steps to reproduce the defect with screenshots, okay, because it needs to be reproducible. Okay, so just describing the issue is not enough because they need to be able to follow your steps to produce the issue. So step 1, user starts the system XYZ version 2.0. Step 2, user clicks on login link from the home page. Then step 3, user logs in as username dummy with password test !1. Then the screen froze and eventually turns out error session connecting has timed out. Okay, so and then if you go on the next page, you'd see the screenshot of the error. So in simple sense, this is what is required in the defect report. You want to cover obviously all the details for that defect and also have a test procedure or steps to reproduce that defect with screenshots that will provide enough information for that developer to investigate the issue. So if you ever write a defect report, you need to review it again, ensure that you cover all this information, what the issue is, a description of the issue, the step that you took in your test to arrive at the issue, and a screenshot of the issue. And then basic information like what system ID you test on. Sometimes it could include the test data you've used. Okay, it can include the username or the credentials you've used to log onto the system, what environment you're testing on. This type of information are obviously very critical to help the developer to investigate the issue. Okay, so whenever you need to raise a defect report or raise your defect, ensure that you've covered some of these basic informations to save you time and to prevent um, a rejected um, a rejected response from the developer and to save time on the test process. Okay, so thanks guys. If you haven't already and like to learn more about software testing concept, please subscribe to my channel at Learn Software Test NG. And if you'd like to do a training in software testing foundation level certification, please go on our website at www.learnsoftwaretestng.com and register for our training. So thank you so much guys. Bye for now.